Welcome to the Women Living Well After 50 podcast. I'm Sulon Carrick and I'm passionate about inspiring, motivating, supporting and informing women over 50 to embrace this exciting time of life. Health and wellness in mind, body and spirit are the foundations for living well, but there is so much more to a life well lived. Each week, through conversations with my guests, I'll be presenting topics that will help us all to live well and enjoy life. So join me as we discover new ways to become women living well after 50. Are you ready to start living? What are you waiting for? Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Women Living Well After 50 podcast. I'm Sulon Carrick and it's lovely to have you join me. Have you got a dream? Have you had a dream that you've been wanting to fulfill for most of your life? My guest today is Judy Smith, and Judy has debuted with her first novel at the age of 70. The Golden Year Glitch is a rom-com for septuagenarians, and Judy Smith is not your average grandma. As her grandchildren said, you don't bake cookies, you send us on clue hunts to find our gifts, and you wear leopard pants. After years child rearing, career building, and just generally living life, Judy finally fulfilled a dream and became a debut author at 70. Today, Judy is going to be sharing how she has fulfilled her dream and talk about the protagonist in the book who's sensual, smart, and strong at the age of 70. So we don't disappear as we age, we become more ourselves. And yes, we still talk about sex. So there's lots that we're going to be talking to Judy about today. So let's go and join the conversation. Welcome, Judy. It's so lovely to have you join me on the Women Living Well After 50 podcast.
Thank you, Sue. It's nice to hear you. Nice to hear your accent.
Yes, we are on the other side of the world from each other,
Yes, you
aren't we?
are.
So the wonders of technology, though, that we can connect this way. So it's a very exciting time for you at the moment because you are going to have your first novel published next week.
Yes.
And it's released next week. So you must be feeling very excited about that.
I am. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah. Never expected anything like this to happen when I was 70. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a nice welcome into this decade.
Yes, it certainly is. So before we get into the book, because I want to talk about that as well, I've read the book and I enjoyed it and I was lucky to get an advance copy of it. But I'd like you just to share a little bit about yourself with the listeners, a bit about your background, and then we'll get to why you actually wanted to write a novel.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm 70. I grew up all over the United States. I went to 5 different high schools in 4 different states. I married young, had my children young, started a direct mail business when I was 30, and I retired from that just 5 years ago. I've always wanted to write. I would keep journals, and I wrote some gift books that have done well. But this was my first novel. And I started a novel about 5 years ago. And I just kept writing and writing and writing until it was so many pages that it would have filled up several books. But I didn't do anything with it. I just kept writing. And then much of what happened in the story in the book happened to me. And my husband of the time was communicating with his mistress on Facebook. So that had actually happened to me. So that started a new direction in my novel. So it was a bit of a revenge, but it worked out well.
Yes, and that must be devastating when things like that happen. And especially as we get older, we can start to fear that, well, what am I going to do? Or should I just try and hang on to what we have? and make do with that because I don't want to be on my own? Or do we look at it as an opportunity to really grow and to live the life that you're meant to live?
And that's exactly it. That's exactly what I was facing. For the first probably month or two after this occurred, I just didn't want to get out of bed. I wanted to move. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And then I decided to write, and it came flying out, and it was cathartic and healthy, and it worked out well that way. But it was tough because, like you said, I was torn between, I just want to collapse. My world will never be the same. I'm too old to do anything else, or pick yourself up. So,
Well, you've certainly proven that you can pick yourself up. And I was going to ask you if Andy, the protagonist in the book, is actually based on you, but you've answered that question for
and
me.
it's just a little bit though. The story in
Yes,
the book is not how my story went, but the concept happened to me.
yes, okay. Because she's very strong, isn't she? And what I want to talk about is, why you wanted to write The Golden Years Glitch. That's the name of the book. And you talk about the Golden Bachelor show, and maybe we can explore those areas as well, because I
Sure.
think sometimes men get it a bit easier with aging than women do. And, they're the silver foxes, or they're, women are judged more than what men are. And I just wanted to talk about that and why you think it's that way.
Isn't that true? Why it's that way, I don't know. But there is that allure of men aging more gracefully, and they choose their life differently as they get older. Where we struggle, with the fact that the wrinkles and everything else is happening. And just I was reading on your website, not to shift gears, but you were talking about how you embraced your physical fitness during a tough time, and I did the same thing. I started swimming, started water aerobics. I felt like I needed to make some physical changes in my life along with the emotional changes. But I don't know why it's different for men. I don't know what you think, but I think we just view ourselves more painfully as we age instead of embracing our
Yes. Yes, I think we put too much pressure on ourselves, and to be, continue to be perfect, rather than just accepting that aging is a process. And it doesn't mean that you're past your use by date, because there's so many women now even in their 80s and 90s, who are still doing wonderful things. So I think it's all about the way we view ourselves and the experience we've had growing up, and then perhaps in our relationships. And we've always been the nurturers, looking after the family, and tend
right.
to put
That's for sure.
ourselves second.
Right, right. And I think a lot of it showed, you had mentioned The Golden Bachelor, that series, which I didn't
Mm.
watch until afterward, but it's, there is that, if you notice that contestants, they all, did you watch the show?
No, I haven't, but I think we've got a version of it out here in Australia as well.
Probably, but it shows
Yeah.
women in their 60s and maybe early 70s, very glamorous in tight fitting gowns, walking with their high heels. And like, I don't want to feel like that's how I have to be, that I still have to be that type of a woman, that I can be who I am, my wrinkles and bulges and everything all together, instead of I have to do those things to get a man or to please a man. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does, because it's a lot of hard work, isn't it? But
Right?
also, you're not doing it for yourself, then you're doing it for somebody else. And
Right.
if we're not coming from a place of doing things for ourselves, and why do we do things? What's in it for us? If we're always doing things for other people, we're never going to live our authentic lives, are we?
That's something I should have learned before I was 70, right? It took me a long time. I didn't
Well,
expect it
I
to take so long, but
Yeah, well, I think we're always learning, aren't we? And,
yeah.
I think the time we stop learning is when we do start to decline because we lose that curiosity and we lose that zest for life. So when you decided to write the book, how did you go about it? Like you said, you just wrote and wrote and wrote. But then when you decided that you wanted it to be something that you were going to publish, how did you go about that?
The first thing I did is I did some research. When I realized I had a novel, I started doing research, and it said that the steps were to find an editor. So I did that first. I found an editor who was interested in the book, and she gave me direction. So she would read through it a couple chapters at a time, make suggestions. And then, so when I finished it, then I had the job of trying to find a publisher. I didn't want to self publish it, I wanted to have a traditional publisher. So I made up my mind that that was the route that I wanted to go. I didn't know that was going to be so difficult to do.
Mm,
I just thought, well, here I'm going to send it off. Somebody's going to say yes, they want it. But there's the whole process where you have to send out query letters to potential publishers and agents to try to find an agent to represent you. And there's a lot of detailed work in that. So once I found a group of agents who handle women's fiction, then I started sending them query letters. And I got about 25 or so out there. And you can tell it's a query form that they have. You can tell once they've opened it or what their responses are. And there were so many that hadn't even opened it, or some were just sent back to me without being open, saying, I no longer do women's fiction, or I'm not interested. And then I guess it was about 2 months after I started that, I received 2 offers in 1 week. So that was very
well, that
exciting.
was,
Yeah.
yes, because you hear about novelists who get so many rejection letters and they
Oh,
just,
yeah.
that would be very hard to cope with, I would think, because
It
you think you've written
is.
something that people will want to read, and then they're coming
Right.
back saying, "Oh no, not for us." And rejection is something a bit of a pill to swallow, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. And but when I did my research, I did what was suggested was to zero in on really particular agents, not just throw it out there to a bunch of agents. So I
Mm,
did the ones that I felt were already representing women's fiction for my age group, or the type of style that the book is. So I narrowed it down, but I still get it. It took about 2 months, but I did get the responses. So, and I went with a medium sized traditional publisher instead of the larger one because I felt like she kind of understood me. This particular agent, I felt like she got me, and
mm,
she would
mm.
represent me better than the larger one who I was just a number.
Yes, yes. And I suppose it's, all a learning curve, isn't it? And, it would be a lot of pressure on you, I think, to try and get all these things done because you haven't, well, you said you had published little gift books
I have a
before, but
series right, but they're different, right?
hmm, yes. So, then coming to a novel to me is a big project
Oh, it
and
is.
trying to get your head around everything.
It was easier to write the book than to do the after stuff.
Mm, mm. And were there times when you thought, why am I doing this?
Oh, yeah, many times. When I thought I was wasting my time writing, when I thought I was wasting my time trying to get it published. But once it got accepted, then I started the second one, and that helped to just keep the writing flow going. So
Right.
that one will be
Yes.
done soon, and that will be
And
out
is that,
probably.
oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So you've got another book in the pipeline.
Yes.
Um, do you have a structure for your writing? So many words a day, or do you?
No.
Uh, no.
No. Everyone that I've ever done research on, everyone seems to handle it differently. For me,
Mm,
I write early in the morning. I get up very, very early. I'm up at like 3:30 because I like the morning hours. I start writing at about 6, and I write for a couple of hours if that's what I feel like doing. And then I just keep notes. Wherever I go, there's notes and tablets and jot things down in the middle of the night. But that just, the morning works best for me. I just function better, more creative. But I
Yes,
don't have a
yes.
goal of so many pages or words. I just can't
No,
do that.
no. There's quite a number of women who are starting to take on the challenge of writing a novel. I just saw something the other day. There's two new authors, and they're in their 70s as well. So what do what drives you to keep going with that? Was it a dream that you had that you always wanted to write, or was it as a result of what happened to you that you thought, I've got to try and, get this out of my
A little bit of
system?
both, because I did always want to write, and I was always journaling even as a child. So I always did want to. I didn't expect to write this type of novel. Sorry. I didn't expect to write this type, but it did work out that way. So it's a combination of both. It led into this, but I did always want to write. Yeah.
And how did you cope with because there's always people who feel a bit threatened if you're doing a big project and they think, oh, I couldn't do that or whatever. So they can be a bit negative about things. Did you have people who were sort of saying, what do you want to do that for? Or were you surrounded by supportive people?
I didn't let people know that I was writing. I didn't disclose that I was writing a book to just about, I mean, maybe just a handful of people, maybe my children, but I didn't let anybody know what I was doing. I just kind of kept to myself. They knew I did other types of writing. So if I said I was doing that, I didn't explain further that I was actually writing a novel. I waited until it was out and then
Yeah,
said, this
yeah,
is what
so
I've been doing. For that reason, too, just like you said, I didn't want to be judged for what I was doing or question why I was doing it. I just wanted to
mm,
do it. Same
mm.
reason I
And
didn't join any writers' groups.
no. And did you feel at times that it was a bit overwhelming and that you didn't think you'd be able to finish it, or did it come to you
Um,
easily?
I never felt like it was overwhelming. No, no, it did. And I'm not saying it came easily, but it just became something I just did.
Mm,
And it helped
mm,
to fill time up, because all of a sudden, being alone, I also had more time. And I had just recently retired, so I didn't know what to do with myself, too. I didn't know. I found this big gap when I retired of time that I just didn't know what to do with. So it filled my time, made me feel productive, and like I was still worthy. I think you even had something like that in your on one of your blogs about feeling and not fulfilled, authentic and fulfilled.
mm,
And
mm. And I think a lot of women who retire, or even men as well, if you haven't really got something to fill in those hours, that's when it certainly starts to, you start questioning yourself. And sometimes people then go the opposite way and try and fill in every minute of every hour, of their day. So how do you find that balance? You said you swim, and I'm sure that I know for me that keeping physically fit is great, not just for my body, but for my mental health as well.
yes, exactly. And it is a balance, because I also have to remind myself that I don't always have to be doing something. I don't have to be structured and sit down and write so many words a day. I don't have to have every minute filled. For me, that still remains a challenge to have that balance in my life. Maybe it always will be. If I'm not doing much, I feel like I'm unproductive. If I'm
Mm,
writing too much or keeping myself too busy, I feel like I'm not allowing myself downtime. That's just
ye-
my internal struggle. So I just have
Yes,
to figure it out.
yes, I hear you on that. The last couple of weeks and going into May, I'm just over committed, and I just keep thinking to myself, "Well, just get through that, and then I'm going to
Yes.
sort of take a step back for a bit and give myself some space because you do tend to want to take everything on because that's the personality that I am." But if you don't have that balance, you will start to tire and physically and mentally, it just becomes too much.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, that's a struggle that I'm dealing with now, is trying to find, not take on so many commitments and not
Mm,
feel like I have
mm.
to. Or
Yes. Now, I mean, the whole thing for me is that you're never too old to do something, and I'm actually going to be presenting at an event in a couple of weeks about you know reimagining aging and that we're never too old to chase our dreams. And what sort of advice would you give to women? Not necessarily, they might not want to write a book, but they're wanting to do something, but they're holding themselves back. What advice would you give to them to keep moving in the direction that's right for them and to go for their dreams?
I guess to follow what feels right, follow their, not just follow their dreams, but what feels right for them. What feels right for me might not be the same for you, but not to question themselves either. Just to make yourself happy, feel fulfilled in whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be something the same as the next person. It can be just what it is, unique for yourself. And like you said, be
Mm.
as authentic to yourself as you can be.
Yes, and I think as we get older, we can do that, but it's very hard not to compare ourselves with
Right.
others, isn't it?
Right. Yes. Especially, I live in an over 55 community. So everyone here is relatively around my age. And it is hard to say, well, I should be doing what that person is doing, or I judge myself based on something else. And then you realize we're all unique individuals. We all have our own backgrounds and we have our backstories. And that's what makes us us. And I don't have to do the same as everybody else.
No, that's exactly right. So, what do now I'm assuming that people in the where you live know about your book or not yet?
They do now, as of last week. Yeah,
All
they
right.
do.
And yeah, and what do they think of that?
I've received a lot of encouragement. They're going to hold an event for me here, like a question and answer for the book. I've received a lot, like a lot of acknowledgement, and it's nice. It's nice. Then you get a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, I've always wanted to do this. I've thought about doing that, and how did you do it?" And it's. I think we all have, no matter how old we are, we all have that something inside of us that we still want to give to the world or express, or something else that we just want to do. And so
And
it's been very nice.
yeah, and that's why it's important to have women like yourself um, talking with me today, because that might spark someone to follow their dream
Right.
and, not necessarily writing a book, but whatever they want to do. And I think the fear of failure or looking foolish is always there, isn't it?
Maybe that's why I didn't tell anybody I was writing the book, because then I wouldn't have to explain, how's the book coming along? Did you get it published? Did you finish it? This way, it just was, I only had to discuss it with myself.
Your own little secret.
Yeah, because I probably didn't want to be judged or questioned, or what if it didn't get published? Then people would say, well, what happened to your book? I didn't want that. No.
No, no, that's probably very wise too, because you have enough pressure trying to get the book finished without having to think
Right.
what other people are going to think about it and so forth. Now, I was reading your bio, and you said that you didn't really want to write your bio, so you asked your family, and I'm assuming it's your grandchildren said, you don't bake cookies like other grandmas. You send us on clue hunts to find our gifts.
I didn't know. Where was that bio at? That's funny.
Yeah, that was just in your Amazon, on your
Oh,
Amazon
okay.
bio. Yeah, yeah.
I
But
didn't know that.
so do you think that this is part of a legacy for you as well, to leave for your children and grandchildren, in the fact that you're showing them that age is not a barrier?
Yeah, definitely. I like, my granddaughters are 12, 19, and 21. So I like it that they can see that, well, I've always done things a little bit different than other grandmothers because I don't bake cookies and I don't do some things. But no, I think it's good. I think it shows them that no matter how old you are, you still have a lot to offer to others, to yourself, to self-expression. So now I want them to see that. I want them to know that there's a lot of life still left out there for me and for them when they get older.
Yes, yes, that's great. And I think that is something that we all need to be mindful of as we age as well. We want to be role models for our um, children and grandchildren, don't we? Because we can show
Right,
them that, hey, just because we get older doesn't mean that we're not valid. We don't have, we're not relevant anymore.
right.
So I think it's important for us to be that way.
No, exactly. I like that. I like the way you worded that too. Yeah, I want them to know that you still are relevant no matter how old you are.
Mm, mm. So you say you've got another book coming out. Is it in a series with Andy, or is it something totally different, or you can't tell us at the moment?
Now I can tell you, it's with Melanie, one of the characters in the book.
Oh,
So,
yes,
so
yes.
some of the characters, but it's her story. It's completely her story. So it has some of the characters are kind of back characters in it, but it's her story. So yeah, and it's almost done. So that's exciting. And the same publisher is going to pick that one up too. So
Oh, great, great.
yeah,
Because the Golden Years Glitch is out on May 6th, isn't it?
yes,
So,
hmm,
and I'm assuming you get that on Amazon or
yes,
in
hmm,
bookstores as well.
Amazon bookstores, Barnes and Noble, yes.
Mm, mm. So will you be having a launch event or?
I don't want to. I know my family is doing one, but I don't want to do, and my community is doing something, and much to my publisher's dismay, I just don't want that. I'm
No.
really kind of shy, and I just don't like that part of it now. So
Mm.
I'll
But
do it
that's
quietly.
yeah, but that's the beauty of being 70. You know what you like and what you don't like, and you're brave enough to say that.
I like that. Yeah, true.
Yeah. So with writing the book, and it was sort of a little bit, based on your experience, even though not fully. What did you do to overcome this breakup that you went through?
Besides writing the revenge book, um,
Mm,
well, I think I did allow myself the time, like I said before, maybe a month or even longer than that, where I didn't do much of anything. I just felt crushed and I had trouble believing that it had actually happened. So I allowed that time. And then, um, how did I just didn't want to, I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to be angry anymore. I just wanted to put everything behind me and move forward. So I think maybe by kind of grieving for that time period, then I just decided it was time to just push that all behind me.
mm. And I think that's important to grieve, because there would have been times when that was good, I would assume, but
Hmm.
we tend to forget about all that and just focus on the
Right.
negative. but you do need to give yourself that time and space. And did you find that you had friends that were supportive of you, family who were there as a bit of a support base?
Yes, but there again, I kind of handled that the same way, and I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to share what was going on with other people. I didn't want to have judgments or comments
Mm,
or thoughts, or I didn't. I just kind of wanted to wallow for a while, and then I didn't want to
mm,
talk about it. It just,
mm.
if I was going to put it behind me, then I didn't want to keep it in the foreground by talking about it.
Yes, yes. I had another guest who had gone through a similar um, they'd been married for 40 years and similar situation, but she was like that. She said she didn't want to tell anyone because she felt that they would have judged her and she just didn't need that at the time.
Right. And especially since in my case, what happened is the way that I found out was because he mistakenly posted messages to his mistress on Facebook. So not only
Mm,
did I find out that way, so did our friends and family found out that way. So it was
mm,
already put out there for everybody to see. So I didn't even have a chance to hide from it. Everybody already
mm,
knew, and I just didn't want to talk about it. It's
mm,
already out
mm,
there, so I didn't want that.
mm,
So I felt
mm.
like there was already so much gossip all around me. I didn't want any more. Uh,
No, no, that's a sensible way. So how do you feel your days now? You've got writing, you've got your swimming. Do you have any other activities that you do, or is the writing just all encompassing?
no, I mean, other than my family and the grandchildren, and but I found that when I finished the book, I became more social. I started to
Mm,
accept. There's wonderful women around here, and I started to accept lunch requests, and I expanded and I started joining some things here at my community. And I didn't do any of that before. Even before my breakup, I just wasn't very social. Now all of a
mm,
sudden I'm social on
mm,
my part. Now I want to do things. I want to be around other women, other people, and I want to join in on things. So the days are very full, and I like that.
mm,
And I don't know
mm,
why, but I never had a desire to do any of that before.
mm. Well,
So it's
social connection is very important, isn't it? Especially
yes,
as we age.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how nice it was to have
Mm,
these female relationships that just communicate with other people about anything or just spend time with other people. I
yes.
just maybe it was because of being so secluded and writing is such a solitary thing that when I was done that, I realized I needed more in my life. Maybe I'm not sure,
Mm,
but all of a
mm.
sudden I became social.
Well, that's good. Okay, so well, look, we're coming towards the end of our conversation, Judy, and it's been lovely chatting to you. But before we go, I do have a question I'll ask you. But before that question, is there anything that you'd like to leave the listeners with about your experience or about aging, something that they can take away from the recording today?
I think well, you touched on it, and by looking at some of your other stuff, it is about being authentic. And it might have taken me 70 years to feel like I could be truly authentic. And I think that word is thrown out there a lot, but it's just so true. Just be who you are, be comfortable with who you are, not be afraid to do anything, tackle anything new, just embrace life, embrace aging, just
Mm.
find that peace within.
Yes, yes. Well, I think you've probably answered the question now that I put to all my guests, but I'll put it to you anyway in case you want to expand. And that is, what does being a woman living well after 50 mean to you?
Finding peace with who you are and accepting who you are. And if there's one thing I would want my granddaughters to be able to have in their life is just to know that it's okay to be you. It's good to be you and just embrace all of your all of you. Just reach out and let everything happen.
Well, it can be an exciting life if we just
It
open
is,
up,
yeah.
can't it?
Yeah.
So, so congratulations on
Thank
your
you,
first
Sue.
novel, and you've got another one coming out in the not too distant future. The Golden Years Glitch is this current one that's going to be out on May 6th. So I'll be putting all the show links to where people can find that in the show notes. So it's been
Thank
so
you.
lovely to have you join me today, Judy, and talk about your experience being a debut novelist at 70.
Thank you so much, Sue. I enjoyed it. Thank you, hon.
Thank you. Well, that was a delightful conversation that I had with debut novelist Judy Smith, author of The Golden Years Glitch, proving that even in your 70s, you can still keep achieving your dreams. So I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation, and check out the book. I have read it. It's a humorous but touching book as well, and I'm sure that you will enjoy it. It's out on May 6th. So if you've enjoyed the episode today, I'd love you to share it with a friend and share the book as well. So until next time, remember to live well, enjoy life, and most of all, be a woman living life your way. Bye for now.